Hey, this is Kevin here, and today I'd like to talk about, there's a lot of confusion out there in the marketplace, and a lot of attorneys who come to us because they've failed at Adwords one way or another, or they've had a company fail at Adwords, and there's really three top reasons that most attorneys and law firms fail at Google AdWords and pay-per-click search marketing. I've been doing this a long time. I've got over 11 years experience. I started off at an ad agency, and we worked for law firms, so I've been in the industry marketing lawyers on search for a long time, and I've managed millions of dollars and hundreds of AdWords accounts, and over that time we've seen some patterns. There's really top reasons that most attorneys fail, why these law firms just don't get it right, or their marketing companies don't get it right. And the first reason is, one of the most common is the incorrect settings that I see when setting up their campaign. So Google has as many bells and whistles as a major commercial airline these days. So there's so many different settings and everything in there. It's really become probably one of the most advanced advertising platforms in the history of the world, if not the most. But with that comes a lot of different settings and bells and whistles, like I said. You can have one setting where it completely alter and change the entire way your account behaves. So you can have different location targeting. Not only can you target, geographic areas down to specific zip codes or radius around a certain place, but you could target people who are searching outside of that geographic area but show an interest in that area. So, these different settings all affect the way your account works. You have the ability when you set up a campaign to target multiple networks. And what do I mean by networks? So Google, you could target your ads on a Google search result page, or you could also target it on a third-party network like AOL or smaller tier search engines. You could also target the display network, which is where you see banner ads on the side of articles that you're reading online. So many people lump these all together, and you don't want to do that. You want to split these apart so you can handle them differently and address things differently, and it actually makes it much easier to manage when you split them into their own campaign. Another thing is a lot of campaigns are too broad as far as their geographic area. So depending on what services you offer, you want to keep that in a tight location. Usually you want to keep it in a 5 to 10 mile radius, sometimes up to 20 if you're a local law. We're not going to lie, attorney advertising on Google is expensive these days. It's multiple dollars per click, anywhere from 10 to a couple hundred if you're in the personal injury or mass tort class action area. A lot of accounts we see are going way too broad with the keywords they choose. What we want to see and what we do is we keep that hyper focused around the core group of customers. And what do I mean by hyper focused? I mean someone who has made up in their mind that they need your services, they just haven't decided who they're going. So most of these searches are actually pretty easy to pick out because they're going to contain the words lawyers, law firm, attorney. It's going to be like real estate attorney, whatever area you're in. Real estate attorney, New York City. Personal injury attorney, Stamford, Connecticut. So that keeps it very focused. If you go too broad, you run the risk of spending too much money on irrelevant search queries. So you want to keep it very focused and very exclusive. And another thing regarding setting up the campaign is a lot of people do not utilize all the features of AdWords. And I see this with some of the most competitive niches out there. Like even in mesothelioma, there's attorneys advertising. They're spending $200 a click, and they're not even utilizing all these features that AdWords offers. The ad they're running has maybe 3 lines of text, very vanilla ad. There's a competitor right next to them running an ad that has several lines of text. It has quotes from articles. It has a link to their Better Business Bureau listing. It has all these different things that they can utilize. It has star ratings in their ads, so it really stands out apart, and those ads outperform those other vanilla ads tenfold, and many people just don't utilize all these features that are available. That goes into our, the second reason why most attorneys and law firms and lawyers fail at their Google AdWords campaigns, and that is they have low performing ads. I'll be honest, when we look at ads out there in the marketplace, I would say 80% of them are just plain terrible. It's all about either themselves, the law firm, or it's all about nothing. So it's just very vanilla, very boring ad. Whoever put those ads together, you could tell they just didn't take the time to think about their user. lawyer. And what you really need to do is you need to think about the conversation that's going on in someone's head when they're deciding to search for a lawyer. What's happening in their life at that moment? If it's somebody who's been injured, if they're looking for an accident attorney or a personal injury attorney. I mean, imagine what's going on in their life. They've been seriously injured in a bad accident. They're frantically looking for someone who they can trust and who's going to, frankly, fight for the money and the compensation that they need to get. So they need to see that in the ad copy. Same with other niches of law. I mean, you really need to echo that conversation, and you need to also think about how, if you're a local law firm, you need to call out that you're local to them. Show the location that your town is in. Say that in your ad. Link up your Google Maps account so it shows your address in your ad, which you're allowed to do. Get reviews on that address on the map listing, because that's possible too. You can get reviews and have those linked up to your AdWords ad. You need to think about ways that build credibility, authority, and trust. And you're an attorney and you're advertising against a very competitive field. Why should someone who's searching for an attorney choose you over everyone else? This is not a referral from an existing customer or a friend or someone in your network. This is a cold search. Someone doing a cold search online looking for your business. Build trust and credibility. What can you do to build that? Are you AV rated? Put that in your ad. Put how much you've recovered in damages if you're personal injury. Put any other ways you can build credibility. Use a quote. Link up a quote from an article if it's possible. You're allowed to do that too. You need to research that. It's called a review extension. And then finally, you need to give them a good call to action. So what is the offer that you're giving people? What do you want them to do? Is it a free consultation? If you're a personal injury attorney, it's most likely going to be a free consultation. If you're an estate planning lawyer, it's maybe you have a free guide or something along that lines, or free something else. You need to come up with a good offer and give them a good to take actions. If it's a consultation, tell us, call us today. We're here for you, standing by. Call 24/7. It really needs to stand out and call to people. That'll bring us into the third point, and that is probably the biggest area we see people trip up. Wouldn't you say, most people, I'd say, bring traffic to the homepage. And this is the last thing you want to do with paid traffic to your website, because your homepage is think of it as like a pinball machine where people just, the people are the pinball and they just get bounced around everywhere. There's no clear direction. There's no action for them to take. You're paying for that traffic. You're paying for their eyeballs on your website. Give them a clear, specific message and use what's called a landing page. And a landing page its sole purpose is designed to get a person to take a specific action. Typically what you do is you have a headline that has a good hook. And what do I mean by a hook? It hooks them in. So it grabs them and it pulls them into the page, pulls them into the copy, pulls them into your business. This is where it becomes critical, is understanding that conversation that's in their head. So you need to use that language that's going on in their head and put that on the landing page so they see that right away. And by the way, that landing page better be mobile optimized these days, because most traffic is coming from mobile. It also, you got to have contact information right away. Where's a phone number on your website or your landing page that you've created? Is there a contact form? Good call to action and a good reason why. You follow those three things and create a really high response landing page. And some of these pages that we've developed, we've seen it increase campaigns performance by hundreds of percents, because we're getting on our landing pages, some of them are getting up near 45% of people are turning into a lead. That's over 1 in 4 people landing on that page. And if you're going to compete as an attorney, you need to have numbers that at least 25% or higher in order to compete. And this is where direct response advertising copy comes into play. Knowing direct response helps. Having a direct response oriented landing page helps. And that's everything what I just described, where you have the hook to pull them in, understand the language, what's going on inside the customer's head, and then give them a clear call to action on what to do next. And it's just, this page is specifically designed for conversions. Phone number, contact information, it's all very apparent. So again, leads me to the last reason. Nobody tracks. Every time we do an audit, I rarely see people tracking these days. And if you're spending money on Google AdWords or any type of search marketing, the beauty of it is it's scientific when you track things. If you don't track things, then you're flying blind. And most firms we see don't use any tracking at all. So they don't track web form conversions. They don't track phone calls. You want to track the return on your investment so you can calculate what your cost per lead is, and ultimately your cost per new case or client. You need to track everything. So we track everything, including form submissions. So when someone completes a form, we track that. And that information we transmit right back into Google AdWords. So we know where that form submission came from. We know the exact ad that brought that form submission. We know the exact keyword that brought that form submission. We know the time of day. We know the geographic location. We know pretty much as Google's revealing about us as soon as that person fills out that form. And in addition to that, we track phone calls. So we use a phone call tracking service, and we track down to the keyword level. So we track when someone calls by either clicking your ad or calling after they get to your website. We're tracking that. And that brings up a good point. There's two different types of phone calls you could track, at least on Google. One is you can have your phone number displayed in the ad. That is a separate form of tracking than when if somebody clicks through to your ad onto the website and calls being on your website. So those get tracked separately, but more importantly, we track them down to the keyword level. And if for our clients, we record those phone calls for them, so they get to see how their team is answering the phone. They get to hear it. They get to hear all the discrepancies, the way their team handles the phone calls. They get to hear that so they can improve upon it and really hammer home and hone in how their team handles these phone calls and intake processes. In addition to that, so if it's a niche that's very quick and immediate, like personal injury, our clients get a text and a email submission as soon as a call comes in, so they know right away, okay, we got a lead, we got to jump on this. This needs to be instantly taken into effect, and you really got to be a bulldog on these things when they come in. But it's important to track this so you can know your most important number, and that ultimately is your cost per case. To learn more about us, they can go to LegalDynasty.com. If they want a marketing tune-up, they can click on the marketing tune-up link in there. And then if they want to speak about our products and services, they can get a hold of you, Alan, the VP of Sales, right? And my email is kevin@LegalDynasty.com.